Everyone turned when the silk ribbon slid off the Rolls-Royce. Cameras flashed. Gasps echoed. But no one looked at her. Not even him. It was her birthday, and he handed the keys to another woman. But what he didn't know, that moment wasn't her breaking point. It was her beginning. If you're ready to hear the whole story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow, I will be giving you another story just as crazy as this one. And you don't want to miss it. Celeste Langford had never needed a spotlight. She had built her life in the quiet corners of high places, supporting galas, balancing her billionaire husband's schedule, curating his image with grace that went unnoticed, but never unneeded. Today was her birthday. The invitations didn't say that. They only mentioned a private luxury showcase for Monroe Motors. But everyone in the industry knew Celeste's birthday always fell on the last Saturday of June. And the party? Hosted at their Bel Air estate? Of course it was for her. Celeste arrived an hour early. The team was setting up champagne pyramids and velvet rope barricades. White orchids in tall glass vases, her favorite. She had ordered them herself. Weeks ago. Julian hadn't asked what she wanted this year. He hadn't asked anything in a while. By sunset, the estate glittered. Celebrity designers, luxury influencers, magazine photographers. Julian made his entrance in a custom black tux, flanked by his VP of development and a blonde with cheekbones like sculpted glass. Celeste greeted guests, smiled for photos, held her flute of champagne without sipping it. Then the valet pulled up. A midnight blue Rolls-Royce Phantom. Fully customized. Pearl white interior. Diamond stitch leather. Julian's pride and joy. A massive silk ribbon stretched across the hood. A hush fell. Everyone assumed, finally, a birthday gift for his wife. Even Celeste allowed a small breath. Julian turned. Held up the keys. "Happy birthday," he said, then turned to the blonde beside him. "To Melina." He placed the keys in her manicured hand. The crowd gasped. Whispered. Someone clapped. Cameras flashed. And Celeste? She blinked once. Then smiled. Controlled. Frozen in place like a painting no one knew how to hang. Later, as guests drank and Melina posed inside the car for press, Celeste slipped out the back gate. No scene. No tears. Just heels on stone. A slow walk toward the guest house at the edge of the estate. She closed the door behind her. Sat at the edge of the bed. Removed one earring. Then reached for her phone. A single text to her assistant. "Cancel tomorrow's brunch. I need time. And quiet." She lit a candle on the nightstand. No cake. No music. She didn't cry. Not because it didn't hurt. But because this wasn't the end. This was something else. Something beginning. Celeste didn't leave the estate the next morning. She simply didn't go inside the main house. Instead, she stayed in the guest quarters, where the air didn't smell like champagne and the walls didn't carry echoes of laughter that wasn't hers. She opened the French doors. Birdsong. The sound of sprinklers hitting pavement. Until the staff's radios buzzed from a distance. Julian had already gone to a meeting. Melina was still asleep, her new car parked like a trophy on the front drive. Celeste brewed her own coffee. No maid. No tray. Just her hands, steady and slow. By noon, her assistant Maribel knocked softly. She looked hesitant, holding a small envelope. "Someone delivered this for you." Celeste took it. "Who?" Maribel shrugged. "No name. Just said you'd know." Inside the envelope, a single card. From a local women's shelter. Handwritten across the back. "Your quiet has power. Don't forget where you started. A friend." Celeste stared at the handwriting. It took her a full minute to place it. Sasha. From her college years. They'd volunteered together before Julian, before the money, before her world turned marble and mirrors. She hadn't seen Sasha in over a decade. Hadn't spoken since the engagement party Julian orchestrated at the Four Seasons, where Sasha wore flats and asked too many questions. She'd been slowly edited out. Celeste changed into jeans, pulled her curls into a knot, and drove herself for the first time in months. To the address scribbled at the bottom of the card. The shelter was plain. Cinderblock. Peeling paint. Warm eyes. Sasha met her at the door, arms crossed. You took your time. Celeste smiled. You always knew when to show up. They sat in folding chairs by the back garden. No photographers. No stylists. No curated apologies. Just two women who used to dream big. One still did. I saw the news, Sasha said. Celeste looked away. You okay? I think so. No, you're not. Silence. Then Sasha added, you're just not broken the way they expect. Celeste looked up. Something tightened in her chest. I let them turn me into a portrait. You can still repaint it. Before she left, Sasha handed her a brochure. Tomorrow we're hosting a writing circle. Survivors telling their own stories. You don't have to speak. Just come. Celeste hesitated, then nodded. All right. That evening she walked past the Rolls-Royce on the driveway. Melina stood beside it, posing for a photographer. Hope you're not mad about the gift, she called, half laughing. Celeste didn't break stride. Just said, it wasn't his to give. And kept walking. Celeste didn't go to the writing circle the next day. She meant it. She'd even dressed for it. Dark jeans, soft sweater, the scarf her mother left behind in a box of old things. But she sat in the car for 20 minutes outside the shelter. Couldn't get out. Couldn't explain why. Just couldn't. That night, she turned off her phone. The press had picked up the story. Julian Langford gifts $500,000 Rolls-Royce to new flame, while wife smiles quietly in background. Is Celeste Langford still in the picture? And why is she so calm? The second headline stayed with her. Not because it was wrong, but because it was exactly the question she was asking herself. Julian came home late. He didn't knock on the guest house door. He just opened it, like he still had permission. Melina says you're upset, he said. Celeste didn't turn. She was folding laundry. Her hands didn't pause. She's wrong, she replied. You always do this. Play elegant victim. She did turn then. Met his eyes. Precise. No. I play nothing. I just don't scream when humiliated. He blinked. Then laughed. You always knew how to twist the knife while smiling. He walked out before she could respond. She let the silence settle around her like armor. The next morning, Maribel brought a stack of donation receipts and a letter from Julian's lawyer. He was transferring partial ownership of the Rolls-Royce to Celeste. A PR stunt. A way to silence her without speaking. She shredded the letter without opening it. That night, she finally texted Sasha. Is the group still meeting? Sasha responded instantly. Every Thursday. You don't have to talk. Celeste went. Sat in the corner of the circle. 10 women. 10 stories. None of them like hers, and somehow exactly the same. One woman spoke of losing herself in someone else's empire. Another about being dressed up and put away like fine china. Celeste didn't speak. But she cried once. Softly. Sasha passed her a tissue without looking. Like she knew. When the circle ended, a younger woman approached her. Thanks for sitting with us. Celeste smiled. I didn't say anything. You didn't have to. That night, she pulled out her old journals. Pages from before Julian. Before she edited herself. She began reading. Then writing. Then remembering. The gala invitation arrived in a thick ivory envelope. A foundation dinner. One Celeste had helped start. Back when Julian still said, we, in board meetings. Now, her name was listed under former honorary chair. She considered skipping it. But Maribel reminded her, you helped build that room. Don't let anyone rewrite that. So she RSVP'd. The night of the gala, she chose midnight blue. Not black. Not beige. Not invisible. Hair down. Skin glowing. A pearl pin her mother once wore. When she entered the ballroom, heads turned. Not because she was loud, but because she walked with purpose. Julian stood near the stage. Tailored. Smiling too wide. Melina wasn't beside him. Not tonight. He caught Celeste's eye. Didn't blink. Didn't smile. The host took the mic, listing key donors and original contributors. When Celeste's name was mentioned, applause followed, brief but real. Julian clapped once. She didn't look his way. Later, in the lobby, they finally crossed paths. Not planned. Just inevitable. You came, he said. She nodded. Of course. This is my legacy too. He studied her. You look different. No, she said calmly. You're just seeing me without editing. He reached into his jacket, handed her a slim envelope. Asset division update. The Rolls-Royce will be auctioned. I'll wire half the proceeds. I don't want the money, she replied. He frowned. Then what do you want? To never owe you a thank you again. He said nothing. She turned to leave, then paused. You'll need a new script next time, she added. He furrowed his brow. What do you mean? Celeste smiled, cool and quiet. I'm not the silent wife anymore. That role's been retired. Outside, Sasha waited by the car. How'd it feel? Celeste exhaled. Like I was reclaiming my name in a room that forgot it mattered. Back at the guest house, she found the first printed copy of her essay in a literary magazine. Title, When the Birthday Gift is a Goodbye You Didn't Ask For. It ended with a line she hadn't remembered writing. Some people use keys to lock you in. I used mine to walk out. Celeste hadn't visited her childhood block in years. But something pulled her back. Not nostalgia. Not sadness. Just clarity. The row houses still leaned into each other like old friends. The corner store still had the same green awning. The sidewalk still cracked beneath the same oak tree roots. She parked across from the old stoop and sat, hands in her lap, window down, letting the past arrive. Her mother used to work 2 jobs. Nurse during the day, waitress at night. Keep your voice clean, she'd say, because someday, it'll be the only thing they can't take from you. Celeste remembered how the girls at school mocked her diction, called her, the professor, for speaking too proper. How she started shrinking her sentences, rounding her edges, just to be less. In college, she met Julian at a business roundtable. She was the only black woman in the room. He introduced himself with confidence. She replied with caution. He said she was elegant, composed. She mistook admiration for validation. She'd been trying to earn both her whole life. Their early dates were quiet, expensive, curated. He liked that she never demanded the check, that she nodded instead of correcting him, that she fit. She liked being seen. She didn't notice she was being framed. After their engagement, her best friend Camille pulled her aside. Are you sure? She asked. You disappear a little more every time I see you. Celeste laughed then, shrugged it off, told herself she was growing into something sophisticated, but she was just going silent. Back in the present, she stepped out of the car, walked up the old stoop, ran her hand along the rusted railing. Inside that house, once, a little girl learned to take up space with poetry, with books, with voice. She had buried that girl under pearls and press releases, but not anymore. That night, she returned home and opened her journal. She wrote, Before I was his wife, I was my mother's daughter. Before I was background, I was bold. Before I was left out, I was already whole. He worked in archives. That was the first thing she learned about Malik. They met at a literary panel downtown. Celeste had been invited last minute to speak about women reclaiming narrative. Malik handled the local library's historic collection. Wore soft sweaters and glasses he never adjusted. Listened with his entire body. After her reading, he approached. Not starstruck. Curious. You said something that stuck, he said. Silence isn't always survival. It's sometimes a signal. I did say that, she smiled. It's true, he said. I just didn't know how to name it until tonight. They met again 2 weeks later. Sasha was speaking at a public panel. Celeste went early. Malik was already there, holding coffee for 2. Accidentally ordered a second, he said. She smiled. How convenient. They talked for hours after the event. Not about Julian. Not about scandals. Not even about books. About music. About how Celeste used to write poems as a child. About how Malik collected old vinyl records he never played, just touched. It reminds me that memory doesn't need sound to matter, he said. She understood that more than she admitted. The next time they met, it was at the library. He'd set aside an old poetry journal from a Harlem activist in the 1960s. Figured you might like this voice. She read in silence, heart catching on every line. When she looked up, he was watching her, not possessively but attentively. You okay? He asked. I haven't heard women this bold in years. He tilted his head. I hear her in you. They didn't kiss. Not yet. But the energy between them settled into something warm, present, waiting. One afternoon, Malik handed her a small notebook. The cover worn, the pages blank. What's this? He smiled. A place for the voice that's returning. She took it home. Opened to the first page. Wrote without editing. For the first time in years. The article dropped on a Tuesday morning. Front page. Bold font. Julian Langford speaks. The real reason behind the Rolls-Royce scandal. Photos of Celeste, out of context, unflattering. Quotes from unnamed sources. She was never really involved. She liked the status, not the work. Julian moved on after years of emotional distance. It was surgical, legal, designed to erase her with elegance. Celeste read it once. Then again. Not because she believed it, but because she needed to see how far he'd go. Her phone rang all morning. Reporters, friends, even her father, who rarely called. She answered one. Sasha, you okay? I'm furious. But stay with that. At lunch, Malik texted. He wrote fiction. You write truth. There's a difference. Her publisher called. I know this complicates things, but your voice is louder now than it's ever been. We could move your book up. Celeste paused. No, she said. Let it come out as planned. I'm not reacting. I'm responding. That evening, she posted a photo. Just her, standing in front of the shelter where she now volunteered twice a week. Caption. Let them tell their story. I'll keep building mine. No hashtags. No drama. Just truth. By morning, her photo had more reach than Julian's article. People remembered her calm at the gala. Her smile when handed nothing. Her essay about keys and exits. Suddenly, they were listening again. Julian called. She didn't answer. Emailed. She didn't read it. Then a letter arrived. No lawyer's signature. Just his handwriting. You've made your point. But don't forget who gave you this life. She read it once. Then tore it in half. Then again. Dropped it in the fireplace. At the next writing circle, Celeste shared a poem. Her first out loud. About silence. About celebration turned shame. About rising anyway. No one interrupted. When she finished, the room was still. Then a single clap. Then more. Sasha whispered, You've never sounded more like yourself. Malik waited at the cafe they had discovered weeks earlier. Celeste arrived. Not rushing. Not hesitant. Just present. He smiled gently. No pressure. I just thought we could talk. I've been thinking, she said, sliding into the booth. About everything. She told him about the gala. About the letter in the fireplace. About the article. He listened. No interruptions. No advice. Just eyes steady and attentive. I'm not looking for someone to save me, she added. I'm not looking for someone to fix my story. Good, Malik said softly. Because I don't want to. I want to watch you live it. They sat for hours. Talking about small things. Music. Childhood memories. Shared silence that wasn't uncomfortable but comforting. Celeste paused. I don't know if I'm ready to trust again, she said. I don't want you to be, Malik replied. I want you to be you. And if that allows me in, I'll wait. For the first time, she smiled. Not guarded. Not elegant. The twins of the shelter waved from the street outside. A reminder that she had built a life that mattered. She looked at Malik. Maybe this is worth trying, she whispered. He nodded. No hurry. We'll go at your pace. That night, she walked home under the soft glow of streetlights. No cameras. No gossip. No Rolls-Royce. Just air. And a sense that choice was hers. The literary festival was alive with energy. Folding chairs lined the hall. Stacks of Celeste's newly published book decorated the stage. She walked in, dressed in soft cream, hair cascading naturally, eyes bright and unguarded. Not for anyone but herself. Malik sat quietly in the front row. Sasha beside him, smiling. The students from her workshops in the back, eager and attentive. Julian? He was there too. Not to confront. Not to claim. Just observing, as if to see what he had truly lost. Celeste took the stage. Flipped to her first page. Read aloud. For years I believed silence meant survival. I learned that strength is found not in hiding, but in speaking, even when the world watches. Applause filled the hall. Not shallow recognition. Not pity. Respect. Real, earned, undeniable. She read another passage. About betrayal, about finding self-worth, about reclaiming a life that had been overshadowed. The crowd leaned forward, captivated. No whispers. No distractions. Only her voice carrying over them like a signal. She had returned. After the reading, she stepped down. Malik caught her hand. Your story will change lives, he said. She smiled, squeezing gently. Not just theirs. Mine too. Outside, reporters clustered. Questions came fast, sharp, invasive. Celeste didn't flinch. She answered calmly. Her own narrative. Her own timing. Later, standing alone with Malik by the edge of the venue, she finally allowed herself to breathe fully. I don't need him, she said softly, or anyone else to validate me. I just wanted my truth back. Malik nodded. I see you. All of you. That evening, she returned home. No Rolls-Royce waiting. No crowd watching. Just her keys in her hand, the first printed copy of her book on the desk, a candle flickering beside it. She sat, opened her notebook, began writing the next chapter. Not to prove anything. Not to retaliate. Just because she could. Her phone buzzed briefly. A simple message from Malik. Witnessing this moment is an honor. I'll wait for the next chapter. She smiled. Closed her eyes. Finally, she felt whole. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.